Welcome back to Leadership Devotionals. For today, we will be talking about the principle of Apostle Paul's leadership, and this is already the sixth installment. We have been talking of various principles in our last episodes on how Paul as a leader, what Paul as a leader as he is. Now this time, this is an exciting topic because if I asked you a question, where do you find the love chapter? You'd say, you can find it in 1 Corinthians 13. My next question is, who wrote that book, 1 Corinthians? Definitely the answer will be Paul. And so the title of our episode in this leadership devotional is Leadership is Grounded in Love. What is most energizing about Paul is his deep understanding of the relationship between love, agape love, and leadership. In 1 Corinthians 9:19 to 23, we have quoted this text so many times in the previous episodes. The service motivation guiding Paul in his passionate love is his passionate love for the redemption of souls. Love for Christ is the law under which Paul functions. And we can read this in Galatians 6 verse 2. His mission is to lead as many as possible to Christian discipleship. We can read that kind of great commission in Matthew 28 verse 18 to 20. And Paul has embraced it. He considers this kind of mission. He considers this as an opportunity and a blessing. Agape love has great meaning in the address of Paul to the Corinthians. Paul is assisting a congregation, attempting to resolve problems that are threatening to destroy both their witness and the life of the church. A thoughtful reading of 1 Corinthians makes clear that definitely there is a need of leadership for this church. By the time Paul comes to 1 Corinthians 13, he is attempting to establish harmony and collegiality within this rancorous church of Corinth. Perhaps that explains why Apostle Paul is, if not to emphasize it and repeat it and keep on emphasizing it, uses the word agape 10 times in 1 Corinthians 13. You see, Corinth is clearly the most contentious church of all the churches mentioned in the New Testament. Why? First, there are personality cults and factions. We can read that in 1 Corinthians 1 verses 11 to 13. Then, on top of that, there are adversarial and litigious confrontation between believers in public courts. They drag their brothers and sisters to courts before public judges. You can find that in 1 Corinthians 6, 1 to 6. Then there is the flawed and false teaching regarding marriage. And this can be found in 1 Corinthians 7, verses 1 to 5. Debates over eating of meat offered to idols. 1 Corinthians 8, 4 to 13. Even people battling over Paul's call and apostleship. You can find that in 1 Corinthians 9, 1 to 18. Fights over the Lord's Supper and worship, even that. In 1 Corinthians 11, 20 to 34. And disputes over the greater versus the lesser spiritual gifts. And we can read that in 1 Corinthians 12, 15 to 27. All of this have left the congregation in Corinth divided and fractured. But it is also this bubbling cauldron of church conflict that Paul interjects his most extended treatment of what he considers the greatest of all gifts to the church, the one of which, if exercised, would bring the body of Christ into harmony and unity. And this is where, fellow leaders, we can get glimpses of intelligence and wisdom and insight in our leadership journey. You have heard a while ago how much I've elaborated all the conflict that were stirring within the Church of Corinth. And here Paul brings in a solution to those sources of conflict. Love, L-O-V-E, says Paul, is the greatest gift, and it is the one that every believer should covet. It is the one every believer should have. The fact that Paul deposited this teaching into this world of Corinthian conflict tells us that this teaching of love is not just only theoretical, but definitely it is immensely practical. Practical to Paul as a leader in his relationship with, from the leader to his followers who are the brethren in Corinth. And practical to the people in Corinth, the people who are, in a swirl of conflict. When Paul injected the concept of love in this rancorous church, Paul was injecting a solution to the conflict, and his aim is to produce and to engage people so that they will be harmonious with each other and united as a church. Agape love, love in the heart of believers will first, definitely will solve conflict. Second, it will heal relationships. Third, it initiates peace. Fourth, love seeks for the good in others. Fifth, it regulates egotism. And sixth, it opens up dialogue between former enemies. Definitely, all of this we can apply in our leadership journey wherever we are in our organization. I repeat this. The principle of love, first, it will solve conflict. It will heal relationship. It initiates peace. It seeks the good for others. It regulates egotism. And it opens up dialogue between former enemies. There you have it, leaders. Leadership is relationships. And in order to influence people, you need to have a certain level of relationship with them. And when that relationship stems from a heart that loves, then definitely all of those benefits that I have mentioned will just simply follow. Agape love transforms also even failing marriages. It reconciles alienated parents and children. And it creates a high trust among supervisors and produces loyal employees. Oh, this is wonderful. We want trustworthy supervisors. We want trustworthy administrators. And of course, we want loyal employees. And the solution to all of this, that this will come out in our corporate culture, is to inject love in it. You know, in the 1950s and 1960s, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. revolutionized American society with a civil rights movement based on the principle of redemptive and self-sacrificing love. It was in his popular I Have a Dream speech. And the beauty of that speech is he painted the picture that whether you are a white American or an African American, your children will all just play there together. And that is basically redemptive and self-sacrificing love. And we could cite 100 other examples to show that this kind of love is practical in its outcome. Matt Tenney, an entrepreneur, you can watch that in TEDx, almost 1 million views with a TED Talk. He elaborated there why the best leaders make love their priority. Paul has given us this example. And Paul has even showed to us, regardless of anything that happens in the organization, the best spiritual gift, the best gift that you, leader, should have is to have that gift of being a loving and a lovable leader. When you are that leader, you reflect Christ, you reflect His character, and you will be on your way, on your journey, well on your journey to be one of the best leaders. God bless you today. Hello, fellow leaders. If you have been blessed with the devotional that you have just heard, don't forget to like, share, or subscribe. Because when you do that, more people, more leaders will be blessed with the same blessing that you have experienced. In YouTube channel, click subscribe to Good Shepherd Consultants. God bless you.